They say the worst part about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from the person you trust most in the world, the person you share your bed with, your bank account with, your future with. My name's Mark. I'm 34, and up until a year ago, I thought I was the luckiest guy on the planet. I was married to Sarah. We had been together for 7 years, married for 4. We didn't have kids yet, but we had the house in the suburbs, the golden retriever, the comfortable dual-income lifestyle. Sarah was a marketing executive, driven, beautiful, charismatic. I'm a software engineer, more introverted, logical, the kind of guy who likes building things and making sure they work. We balance each other out perfectly, or so I thought. Looking back, there were no explosive arguments, no dramatic slamming of doors. Our marriage didn't die with a bang. It was suffocated by 1,000 tiny, almost invisible changes. But when you love someone, your brain is hardwired to ignore the red flags. You make excuses for them because the alternative, that your entire life is a lie, is just too terrifying to process.
The shift started around the time she got promoted to senior accounts director. It meant longer hours, which I understood. But then came the networking dinners that stretched into 11 p.m., then the weekend conferences in different cities. She started guarding her phone like it held nuclear launch codes. When we first met, we knew each other's passcodes. We'd use whoever's phone was closest to order Uber Eats or change the Spotify playlist on road trips. Suddenly, her phone was always face down. She changed her passcode, claiming her company's new IT policy required stricter security. She started taking her phone into the bathroom while she showered. And her appearance changed. She started buying expensive new lingerie, stuff she never wore for me. She was hitting the gym obsessively and wearing a new, very strong perfume when she left for work events. I asked her about it once. Just a casual, "Hey, you've been working crazy hours lately, is everything okay?" She snapped at me, called me insecure, said I was trying to hold back her career because I was jealous of her success. That manipulation worked for a while. I backed off. I even bought her flowers to apologize for being unsupportive. God, I was an idiot.
The truth didn't come from a private investigator or a dramatic confession. It came from an old iPad mini we kept in the guest room. Sarah had bought a new iPhone, but forgot to sign out of her Apple ID on the old iPad that was buried in the bedside drawer. I was looking for a spare charging cable one Saturday morning while she was at a yoga retreat with her girlfriends. I opened the drawer, moved the iPad, and the screen lit up. A notification, an iMessage from David, HR. Message: I can still taste you from last night. Can't wait for the hotel in Chicago next week. I froze.
The air left my lungs. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands were shaking uncontrollably as I swiped the screen. There was no passcode on this old device. I opened the messages, and right there, sitting on the edge of the guest bed, my entire world collapsed. David HR wasn't HR. It was David the new regional vice president of her company, a married man, a man with 2 young daughters, a man I had shaken hands with at her company Christmas party 4 months ago. I sat there for 3 hours, reading 2 years' worth of messages. They hadn't just been sleeping together. They had an entirely separate life. They made fun of me. She told me I was boring, predictable, a safe bet. She told me about my financial bonuses and how she was planning to use my money to fund a kitchen renovation before she eventually figured out her exit strategy. I didn't cry. I was too far past crying. I felt a cold, dark numbness wash over me. I walked to the bathroom and threw up until my stomach was empty.
If I had confronted her right then, she would have cried, manipulated me, deleted the evidence, and likely taken half of everything I had worked for. But she said it herself. I am a software engineer. I am logical. I build systems. And I was going to systematically dismantle her life. I didn't say a word when she came home from her yoga retreat that Sunday. I kissed her cheek. I asked her how her weekend was. I cooked her dinner. Looking into the eyes of the person who is actively destroying you and smiling back, it takes a piece of your soul. But the rage inside me burned so hot, it turned into ice. The next morning, I took the iPad to work. I exported every single message, every photo, every voice note. I saved them on 3 different encrypted flash drives. Then, I hired the most aggressive, shark-like divorce attorney I could find. Because we didn't have kids, it was going to be a clean split, but I wanted to make sure she couldn't touch my assets. In my state, infidelity can impact alimony. My lawyer advised me to gather financial records. I spent the next 3 months living a double life of my own. I separated our finances slowly. I moved my direct deposits. I documented every cent she spent from our joint account on hotels, dinners, and flights with David. Using marital funds for an affair is financial dissipation, and judges hate it. 3 months. 90 days of sleeping next to a stranger. 90 days of saying, I love you too. 90 days of waiting for the perfect moment.
The perfect moment presented itself beautifully. Sarah's 32nd birthday was approaching, and she wanted a massive party. She booked a private room at an upscale restaurant downtown. She invited her parents, her sister, all of our mutual friends, and several of her coworkers. She even invited David and his wife Emily. The audacity of this woman was staggering. She wanted to play the perfect wife in front of her family while making eyes at her married boss across the room. She asked me to pay for the catering and the open bar. Of course, honey, I told her. Nothing is too good for you. The day of the party arrived. I dressed in a tailored suit. I felt incredible. I wasn't anxious. I was euphoric. The executioner doesn't get nervous before dropping the blade. Before leaving the house, I went to the post office. I mailed a thick manila envelope via certified mail to Emily, David's wife. Inside were printed transcripts of the most graphic texts, photos of Sarah and David, and a USB drive with voice notes. It was time to arrive on Monday morning, but tonight was for Sarah.
The party was in full swing. Everyone was drinking, laughing, having a great time. Sarah was wearing a stunning red dress, playing the center of attention. David was sitting 2 tables away with his oblivious wife, throwing secret glances at my wife. Around 9 p.m., it was time for speeches. Sarah's father gave a lovely toast about how proud he was of her. Then it was my turn. I clinked my glass. The room fell silent. I stood up and walked to the front of the room. right next to the large TV monitor they used for corporate presentations. "I wanted to prepare something special for Sarah," I said, smiling at her, "to show everyone exactly who she is and what she's been up to this past year." Sarah smiled, blushing. She thought I made a photo slideshow. I plugged my laptop into the HDMI cable. The screen flashed to life, but it wasn't a picture from our wedding. It was a massive, high-definition screenshot of a text message exchange. The text on the screen read, "Sarah, I can't wait to leave my boring husband. Your hotel room or mine tonight? David, mine. I'll make sure you forget his name." The room froze. The silence was deafening. You could hear a pin drop. I clicked to the next slide. It was a photo of Sarah and David kissing in the lobby of a hotel in Chicago, the date and timestamp clearly visible. Sarah's face went completely white. The wine glass in her hand slipped and shattered on the hardwood floor. "Mark, what are you doing?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I clicked to the third slide, a pie chart. "And this," I announced loudly to the room, "is a breakdown of the $14,000 of marital funds Sarah has spent on luxury hotels, flights, and dinners with her boss, David, over the last 18 months. I looked over at David. He looked like he was going to vomit. His wife, Emily, was staring at the screen, then at David, her face contorting in horror. "You see," I continued, my voice steady and booming across the dead silent room, "Sarah is incredibly driven. So driven, she's been working overtime in David's hotel rooms while I paid the mortgage." Sarah's father stood up, his face red with anger. "Mark, is this some kind of sick joke?" "No, sir," I replied calmly. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a thick envelope tied with a neat red ribbon. I walked over to Sarah, who was now shaking uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face. "Happy birthday, Sarah," I said, dropping the envelope onto her plate. "Those are divorce papers. I've already moved my things out of the house. My lawyer will contact yours." I didn't stay for the screaming. I didn't stay to watch Emily slap David across the face, though my buddy who stayed behind told me it was a spectacular hit. I just turned around, walked out the front door, got into my car, and drove away. I have never felt so light in my entire life. The fallout was nuclear. The manila envelope arrived at Emily's house on Monday, confirming everything she saw at the party. She filed for divorce and took David to the cleaners. As for Sarah, because several of her coworkers were at the party, the news made it to HR before she even logged on Monday morning. David, trying to save his own skin and his lucrative severance package, threw Sarah under the bus. He claimed she used her position to inappropriately pursue him. They were both fired for violating the company's code of conduct and morality clauses. During our divorce, Sarah tried to fight me for the house, but because I had absolute documented proof that she used joint funds to finance her affair, the judge ruled heavily in my favor. I kept the house, my investments, and my sanity. She had to move into a tiny, overpriced apartment, jobless, with her family barely speaking to her out of sheer embarrassment. It's been a year now. I sold that house in the suburbs, I bought a place closer to the city, got a promotion at work, and I'm taking a month-long trip to Japan this fall. Sometimes, the universe doesn't give you karma. Sometimes, you have to engineer it yourself. Thank you for listening.
If you're going through something similar, remember this. Don't let them see you break. Stay quiet, get a lawyer, and let the truth be your ultimate revenge.